Good morning. This is Mike Givney, and this morning I'm going to tie a quick Pheasant Tail Soft Hackle. These Pheasant Tail Soft Hackles are very effective fished as a dropper above a weighted nymph, and they're used to imitate basically any swimming nymph that you have in your water column. I like them here for the sulfur and blue-wing olive hatches, and up in the mountains, in the mountain streams, when you don't have a hatch going off, you can use them as a searching nymph, again over the top of a weighted nymph. Because soft hackles are unweighted, they have a lot of action in the water and they imitate a swimming nymph very well. The materials we're going to use today are a number 15 hook. It's an antique Mustad 3980 heavy. I just happened to do 1,000 of these, so that's what I tie with. And I adjust the length of the abdomen to match the size of the fly. And I don't find, for most of these streams around here, I don't find that it's necessary to change the size of the hook from this size 15 just to change the size of the body on the hook. We try to imitate or suggest a natural fly, but there's a hook point hanging off the bottom of it, and that's not natural. So if the top of the fly looks similar to the fly that I'm fishing, I usually have good luck. So some of the materials we're going to use today on top of the hook are a wood duck colored ultra thread. We're going to use, obviously, iwaxolami thread. We're going to use a bleached dyed ginger pheasant tail. And we're going to use, spool just blew up, an extra small ultra wire in gold. For dubbing, I'm going to use a rabbit heron spectra blend in pale yellow. And finally, for the hackle, I'm going to use a Hungarian partridge hackle. All right, let's start on the fly. First thing I do is wax my thread. That'll give it just a little bit of grip on the hook. Start slightly behind the eye and wrap down to the point of the hook. Remove the waste. I'm going to take and I'm going to tie in a piece of gold wire for the ribbing. The best way to tie in your gold wire is just have it extend past the hook eye by quite a bit. Give it one wrap and then pull the wire back so that it's about 1/16 of an inch behind your hook eye. Then we're going to take several pheasant fibers. For this fly, I'm going to want it kind of thin, so I'll use 3. I'll pull them 90 degrees up from the stem. That'll line up the tips, which isn't super necessary for this fly, but it's a good habit to get into. Pop them off. Now bring the fibers to the hook with the tips pointing forward and give it a wrap just to get it on top of the hook, and then I'll pull back on it to bring the tips of the fibers in line with where the wire ended, about 1/16 of an inch away from the back of the hook. Now for this fly, I call these quick and dirty because they're so easy to tie once you get after them. I won't use any super glue on this one, but I will bring the thread forward. Sorry about that. Sounds like a circus in here. And I'm going to wrap the pheasant tail forward in touching turns to give a segmented look to the body. And when I get to the thread, pull the pheasant tail straight up and straight forward towards the eye. Give it 2 wraps, and that'll lock it in place. And that way you can then go in and trim the excess. Now for the wire, you're going to counter wrap that. So the idea is you wrap it in the opposite direction that you wrap your thread and your pheasant tail, and that will lock it in place if it gets hung up on a fish's tooth or gets banging against the rocks. It'll stay together longer. Give that 2 or 3 wraps. And remove the waste. Now, the next step is to tie in the hackle. And here's the way this works. Take your hackle and a pair of hackle pliers. I usually use smaller hackle pliers, but I don't have them with me upstairs. And grab just the tip of the feather. That'll allow you to stroke back on the barbs of the feather. So that just the tip is exposed. Cut off most of the tip, leaving just a little triangle at the end. And this triangle is what you're going to use to tie your feather in. I've seen them tied facing forward towards the hook eye, facing back towards the body, but because I'm using it thorax, I'm going to tie it in facing forward and wrap back to where the body ends. Then we're going to take a little bit of this Rabbit Spectre Blend dyed yellow and give it just a tiny little bit of dubbing. You can wax your thread first. This thread still has a bunch of wax on it, so it's good. Then I'm going to come forward and just put a ball of dubbing at the thorax. Okay, then lift your hackle, one wrap forward of it. Taking your hackle pliers, grab the stem. Now you want to be careful here. These things are very delicate. And give it 1 wrap right in front of the thorax. Brush your fibers back and half a wrap directly in front. Then cross your thread with the stem of the feather and wrap through your hackle 2 times. Bring the fibers back, give 2 more wraps in front of the hackle, catching the stem with each turn. And you can go in and carefully, because you might catch your thread, carefully clip off the stem of the feather. And that'll allow you to come in and finish with a couple of wraps to clean up your head. Just a dab more wax to hold it. And a whip finish. Tighten it up. And trim the thread. You can rough your feathers up a little bit, bend them. Sorry about the twitching. It gives it a little buggier look. And that's it. It's that simple. This is a very effective fly, and it appears that the more you use it and the more fish it catches and the rattier it looks, the better it works. It's as simple as that. You'll be able to pound these things out in just a few minutes, and that's why I don't go into as much effort with the super glue to hold down the feather fiber or varnishing the head, because they are super quick to tie. Hope you like it. Thanks.